This is the Bear Country Outdoors Barely a Podcast. I'm your host, Doug Joyce, and with me is James Forsland and Chris Cantrell. Thanks for joining. Welcome back to another podcast night here, Barely a Podcast, and we have another special guest, Mr. Josh Caple. Nice to have you on the show tonight.
Thank you much, guys.
Yeah. So what are we going to talk about tonight, Jim?
So we're going to get into some good stuff, some really good stuff.
Something that we haven't really touched base on, right?
You know, we preach a lot about predator management and bear hunting and coyote hunting and bobcat hunting and lion hunting, but we don't talk about like the real gritty details, the stuff that people really want to hear about. And so tonight we're going to dive into a lot more of the specifics about like putting a call set together, what sounds to use, what calls to use, our techniques, what we're looking for a setup, basically where we're looking for a setup,
how many possums I killed,
how many possums Chris has killed.
A million.
So Chris is saying that he's going to do 36 shoulder mount possums across his beam behind.
Just do the head,
just neck mount possums.
Oh yeah.
Dude, like I think it would be hilarious. Just tell Brandon that he needs a bunch of shoulder mount possum forms. Just keep them on hand.
I have enough.
He would totally hate you for that. He would
totally do it.
Is possums considered a predator? I guess they kind of are, right? They kill stuff, right?
If you ask my chickens or their eggs, yeah.
Sure. Okay. All right.
So there was a video recently.
Getting a little off topic, but that's okay.
Already.
No, this is perfect.
I don't remember who posted it. It was on the Instagrams, and it was like a game camera, a video game camera, and a possum, and it was a little skunk, and the skunk was about to and they're facing off, and I'm like, this possum is about to get messed up by this skunk, right? This is no baloney. The possum came over, snatched up this skunk, shook the shit out of it, and killed this skunk on camera.
Well, dude, you've seen possum's teeth. They are nasty.
Dude, I shoot them in the face all the time here. Right?
I have a thing about possums, dude. They creep me out. I hate them.
They're ugly as hell.
I've never seen a possum kill a skunk though.
I don't think I've seen a possum kill anything at all, but
they're nasty.
When they face you down with their teeth and they're hissing at you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Especially when you're
looking,
especially when you're a 5-year-old or 6-year-old kid underneath your house and your dad gives you a hammer and tells you
we've told the story before, right?
No, never told this story.
Hey James, could that 5-year-old
I've told you this
that little
story.
kid be you?
Okay, hold on.
This is a good. I've heard it.
We'll come back to this story in just a second, but before we do it, I wanted to give our guest a special edition Bear Country Outdoors Bear Hunter's Life t-shirt.
Awesome. Thank you.
Because we're doing gifts now. Now back to the possum
Back
story.
to fighting possums.
Real quick, we touched on this on the last podcast with Jake Jensen that we're only giving those t-shirts away on the podcast now. So that was our first big film, right? And Doug, you had them on the website. Just slide that microphone in a little bit. We had them on the website, but we're not going to sell them on the website.
No.
We're only going to give them away to people who come on the podcast.
And we're going to have to find, we were just talking, we're going to have to find guests that fit the shirt sizes as we go.
Yeah, so the closer we get to the end, it's like, well, if you're a 4X, you're going to be on the podcast.
We're looking for a 4X guest.
Come on down.
So
it's like a game show.
I've been trapping more possums than I've ever trapped this year.
But it's not even what you're trying to trap.
No,
either.
it's not. I was killing the bobcats last year. This year was just possum after possum after possum. But James has a possum story.
Oh, dude, a possum story of all stories.
It's a good possum story.
When
I don't know if I've heard this.
Oh, if you haven't heard this, I'd be shocked because this is one of my childhood horror stories, dude. So
was this the house in Marysville?
Yes, it was the old Marysville house. So this house
Classic Marysville, right?
This house was built in like the 1890s. Dude, it was like 100 years old when I was living there when I was a kid, and there
was probably like
it was on like it had this little tiny crawl. there was like a prohibition area underneath it. It was like a dungeon that went down into the ground. It had a stairway. And my dad had uncovered it from the front porch, and it went down underneath and was like a little cellar thing.
Oh, well, I guess I was
Well,
right.
anyways, there was a crawl space that was about this big. And my dad had all this electrical work that he was doing because he was like remodeling the house and getting it all ready, you know, for having a family living in it. And we were, you know, my dad had 4 kids. And he is like running wires and stuff. And for some reason, he had me crawl under the house to get the wires as he would drop them down through to fish them out and fish them through different areas. And he would send me, okay, over here, son, and go over to this corner and run over here and then hand me the wire. And I was deathly afraid because I had seen possums go under the house before. And like these big, nasty things.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, they're so nasty.
The city ones are always worse.
Oh, dude,
they're
and
always like huge.
These huge Marysville garbage possums, dude, they were like 40 pounds. They were just
they're
like these
booners.
massive.
The rats
Massive.
are 10 pounds.
Yeah, I was gonna
the
say,
possums
yeah.
are 40.
Oh yeah,
Possum.
I mean,
Yeah.
if there's Boone and Crockett possums, this area had them. So my dad is like, he sends me under there, and I'm deathly afraid because I'd seen the possums go under there.
How old were you?
I was probably like 6.
Okay.
Maybe I was 7.
Perfect.
I was Easton's age, right? My son, who's 7. And my dad goes, well, if you're afraid, take this hammer down with you. And if you see anything and it comes at you, just hit it with the hammer. And I'm like thinking, oh my gosh. So I go under there and I got this hammer, right?
Did you have a light?
Yes, I had a flashlight, a little, you know, like the little
Little
mag
light?
lights.
Yeah, a little tiny one.
Yeah, you got to twist it, and then sometimes they go out and go dark. You have to shake them, and
shake
you're a
it,
little
yeah.
kid, and you're under the house. You're like, damn it, turn it back on. And so I'm crawling under there, and my dad's dropping this wire, and I look to my right, and there's a possum, and it looks dead, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, Dad, there's a possum. Dad, there's a possum. He's like, it's probably just a dead one, you know, because there was a bunch of dead ones too. There was like carcasses of like mummified possums like all over the place. And I'm just like, oh, okay. And I'm like trying to concentrate on what my dad's saying. He's like fishing this wire, but I'm like shining the light over there at that possum every once in a while. And I remember one of the times I'm like looking over, and I just happened to like just basically wave the shine the light over, and that possum's eyes are open and it's got its mouth open. It's going, and I'm just like, ah! And it like comes towards me. And I took a hammer and I started hitting that possum, and it was coming at me. And I was hitting it and hitting it. Long story short, I murdered this damn possum with a hammer as a 7-year-old child. And it was, dude, it was
there'd be a lot of people that would be
horrifying.
laughing at this.
I mean,
But
I
think it's
don't know
hilarious.
for sure if I definitely killed it, but I beat it with that hammer a bunch of times. And I was like, and then I just like scurried out of there. And my dad's like, "What happened?" I'm like, "Dad, there's a possum. I told you."
He's like, "What? Did you kill it, son?"
He's like, I think he felt a little bad, like, "Holy shit, this is probably not the best way to do this project." But yeah, so ever since then, I've hated possums. So back to
That's
Chris.
hilarious.
And
trapping
that's why kids are
Great
soft
start.
now, because how many kids have beat a possum to death with a hammer? You know, like not many.
Not many.
It sounds like a new thing. Let's bring it back, guys.
I'm just saying.
Send your
Possum
kids
hammer
underneath
hunting.
your house.
Yeah. It's not,
With a hammer.
dude. I would never send my kids underneath of my crawl space alone, regardless. Like, I mean, maybe Alexia now, but I can't even imagine. Like, there was like, dude, it was like dirt. There was like it wasn't clean. It was just like
Dude, with a
nasty.
hammer, that's so
There's
funny.
dead mummified possums everywhere. What the hell was my dad
probably
thinking?
dead mice and dead
Oh,
rats
dude, it
and
was
stuff.
nasty.
Yeah.
It stunk so bad underneath there too. There'd be like all these neighborhood cats would go under there too.
Oh man,
Yeah, dude, it was just a mess.
I remember that house. Yeah.
Well, our kids have seen some stuff too.
Yeah.
I mean, me and Chris aren't exactly the normal. Well, I mean, we are. Like, we just are like, well, when we were kids,
that's
we used
what
to
we
do it
were.
this way.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like when we were kids.
We're
it
not
was like,
the typical millennial parent or whatever.
no,
Gen
we're a
X
dying
parent.
breed.
Yeah. We're still trying to keep those traditions alive.
Sure.
Yeah. Realities, right?
Because I feel like, and this is getting completely off topic of anything we're supposed to be talking about, but I feel like eventually the world's going to come back around to be hard again at some point. Like, how far can we go before there's a big reset of some sort?
That's
right?
going to be by choice, but
Yeah.
Yep, I would
It's
agree.
the hard times make hard men. You know, hard men make easy times. Easy times make soft men. Soft men make hard times. Hard times make hard men.
So it's just a
it
giant
just keeps
circle.
going. Yeah, and it keeps
Right.
going around.
Right.
And
We're definitely at soft men.
I've seen some of the softest freaking men I've ever seen in my life. I'm talking freaking Jello pudding. So soft. Soft, and I'm not talking about like, oh, you can't lift a lot of weights, or you can't like you fix something, or you can't even like mentally figure something out. It's just like soft in general, just like can't do anything.
Yeah.
Worthless.
Sure.
Absolutely worthless.
Yeah,
No.
well, in my world, you're pretty judgmental of hands. Your hands are your resume.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about your world.
Well, I work construction primarily, so real rough stuff. I also do a lot of metal fabrication stuff. My own mechanic, my own plumber, my own electrician. You know, you name it. Things that dudes used to do on the regular. Know how to take care of yourself.
Yeah, there's not a lot of
Raise
guys that
animals.
can do just about anything anymore. You know?
No, yeah.
Especially when there's a certain problem, you can just deal with it.
If it's not on your computer, you can't program it.
Right?
Yeah, and you're a rarity if you're able to step outside your quote unquote specialty.
I
Maybe.
feel like every guy should have at least like basic skill set of like individual trades, right? Like if I needed to fix something plumbing, I could do it. I don't know how to do everything, but I could do like basic stuff, right?
Right.
Well,
Electrical, same way.
your pipe blows out in the middle of the night because it froze. I mean,
Right.
are you going to panic and wait for somebody to come and save you, or are you
Absolutely
going to be able
not.
to do something about
Yeah.
it?
Case in point, the alarm went off last night. So did you have the storm at your house, right?
I didn't have no storm.
Oh, dude, terrible storm.
I slept
here.
like a baby though, so.
So like it's raining like freaking cats.
Oh
and
yeah,
dogs.
it was raining.
And then like we had like thunder that shook the house, right? And so every door and every window is alarmed, and we have 125 of them, I think, doors and windows, right? So it goes off, and it'll tell you like what level it is, what building it is, what window it is, what door it is, right? And so I'll know, but like I'm laying there asleep, and the alarm goes off, and I wake up, and so I go over, you know, get my house clearing firearm that I have, and it's
Because he thinks that someone's storming the house.
literally, well, the alarm's going. Well, you got to
Dude, I do
imagine
that.
like
You would be surprised how many times I do this. Stuck.
I've only done that when my dog has just like gone crazy in the middle of the night, but it'll just be like some wind or like the door like flapping up against the door.
Yeah, I'd still rather be armed with something more than my Johnson.
Yeah, right.
you know. Well, the thing is like having a firearms manufacturing facility on the compound.
Yeah, you're a
makes-
little more paranoid.
Yeah, you know. And like I got a lot of nice shit. I don't know if you guys looked around, but like, you know, it's like a lot of nice stuff, right? So
People are trying to take your deer mounts.
yeah.
right?
Well, could you imagine if a crackhead walked down here and was like, "Oh man, I bet you I could get like however much a crack rock costs out of a deer mount." I don't know, you know.
Yeah.
That's it.
So I, you know, have to get my firearm and go clear 8,000 square foot of house in the middle of the night. You know, I'm clearing eye boogers and I'm clearing doorways, you know, and it's the alarm's going off, woo, you know, and I'm just like, you know, and I'm thinking like, I remember, so I clear the house. It was nothing. I find out which window it is. And long story short, I go back to bed and I'm laying there and my wife's just like, is everything okay? I'm like, yeah, everything's fine. And I go, just remember this anytime you want to divorce me. Like, you know, no man is going to clear this house for you. Like, there's very few men that will do that. Just remember that.
Just remember.
Yeah.
And remember, I have a bear hunt coming up, so. And I love you.
So, Josh, you do construction, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So building houses.
Yep. Primarily all residential construction
Residential stuff, okay.
and
What's your specialty?
mostly remodel right now. So I work for GC.
Okay.
So
Everything.
everything. The
GC.
responsible party.
I would say.
I can relate to that.
Yeah, like,
That's what I do, except for I do the dirt work.
Right.
yeah, my father was a brick mason by trade, but and then later in life, he was a GC. And I remember, like, growing up being like 8, you know, and he'd be like, "Hey, guess what? You're plumbing today." And I'd be like, "How you do that?" And he'd be like, "Stand in the Home Depot aisle until someone comes in the plumbing aisle that looks like they know what they're doing and ask them." And I'd be like, "Okay." and that's how I learned a lot of stuff. Was in the Home Depot aisles waiting for some guy who looked like he knew what he was doing. Wait till some guy grabs this type of pipe right here, or this, 2x8 or whatever you're doing, and then ask him what he's doing and how he does it. I'm like, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, back in the day when you used to have to figure stuff out.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's not a lot of,
there was no YouTubes where you
No.
could just
Yeah.
YouTube everything.
No.
Yeah. And even in the GC trade now, like, there's not a lot of good ones.
There's definitely
No.
not. There's a lot more bad ones than good ones.
Like, I see guys that, like, start off with, like, building fences or, like, building a deck. And then all of a sudden they're a GC. And I'm like, oh, you can wire and plumb and like, frame,
Right.
finish carpentry. Finish carpentry for GCs?
Yeah.
Get out of here, dude.
Yeah. Not only that, but even navigate contracts properly and hire good subs, and it's doing the remodel stuff. I call it urban archaeology.
Right.
So you get to see years of just messed up shit.
Oh yeah.
I own a bunch of really old homes.
and hope that the people that come and fix it don't even worse.
Yeah, I work with a real good group of people.
Yeah.
that we don't stray outside the
Try to
normal,
reverse all of the years of Band-Aids that
Yep,
basically are
usually
happening.
as much as possible, as much as budget allows, which is sometimes a factor, but I don't know.
So the house you drove by when you first pulled in, I remodeled that one. It was 1901. That's the oldest house I own, but I have like a 1901, 1911, 1913.
Those are rough to work on.
Holy crap, dude. So this is not even near what we were going to talk about, but like,
We'll get into it.
What's
It's
some
fine.
of the oldest houses you've worked on? What's some of the stuff you've seen?
Early 1900s here in Washington. I worked in Colorado for a while, and there were some 1880s, 1890s Victorians that I worked on.
Really?
That were pretty neat. The unfortunate part of working on those during that time, early 2000s, that the popular thing to do was just go in, gut those completely, rip the roof off, even if it was already a 3-story Victorian, and add a level.
Really?
Yep. Investor flips were a big
That's
thing going
disappointing.
on. It's kind of neat here. Yeah, early 1900s. I'm working on one right now. Is a 1924, so
Nice.
that's pretty neat. I think earliest one that I've worked on here is a 1906, but yeah, they're neat old houses.
My house down there used to be a chicken coop.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
That's even cooler.
Yeah.
I
It was
like the historical, like there's just stuff with a history.
Yeah.
There's
Like
some
you go
cool
down to the
stuff.
church down below here, that little white church.
Yep.
And they have like headstones from like the 1800s, and you're just like,
Well, you know what's crazy is also if you look at the lumber and look at like the quality of like the 2x4s and all that stuff compared to what you get now.
yeah.
Well, you're getting all young wood now.
Yeah.
There's
right.
all the stuff back there, and it's just this long, tight grain.
Exactly.
Like
yeah.
you can tell it's old growth stuff.
Yeah. It's,
And it's like
100,
even the fir
200 foot
beams
tall
and like
trees, yeah.
you
Yep.
look at it and you
Old
go,
growth.
wow,
Mm-hmm.
like this is not the same kind of timber you can go buy at Home Depot. Like the stuff here is like 30, 40-year-old trees that they're cutting that are 14
yeah,
to
the stuff that they
18
were
inches
using back
around.
then was probably 100 to 200 years old.
Yeah. I mean, that's still catching up with, they were still logging stuff
And the
that was
crazy
old
thing
growth.
is
Right.
that stuff is still better than the new shit that you get now.
I know it
Oh,
is.
far and away. Yeah.
Dude, I love salvaging wood. I salvage wood all the time.
You've seen the
Anything I can
stuff that
get
I
it.
have on the shop.
Yeah.
So when I was redoing that house, so the original roof, right? It was like the rafters were like the limbs of the tree, right? So I have all of them with like the original nails. So I pulled all those off. And then like the walls, it's 3 slabs of perfectly straight grain cedar. Just hunks, like giant hunks of cedar,
Huh.
right? That they stacked on top, just 3 high. That made 8 feet, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's incredible. And so it was just a box, right? And they obviously cut in, but you can see like the adze marks in the wood.
Right.
so I left that, right? I left those pieces, but like, and then the beams that went across are perfectly split, straight grain cedar that I have up in my shop. And they're like, dude, it's incredible. Like how tight it is and how clear it is. And like, they're like 20-foot beams. Perfect. And I'm like, oh God, what am I going to do? And I got to like think of like something
cool.
Pretty cool stuff. Yeah.
Super.
I've got a few things going with some reclaimed wood that I like to do. I made some knife stands recently out of some reclaimed oak.
That wasn't the one you got.
I got one.
Son of a bitch. So
let's
talk about this a minute. We're
gonna dive into this.
I was butthurt. So we're at the we're at Skookum. We're at the American Bear Foundation. Super butthurt. And James goes, I bid on everything. Like I just went through.
I did the same thing.
Yeah, Doug Bose is a great guy, by the way.
Oh, absolutely.
Puts this thing on. You know, everyone at Skookum's a fantastic human being, and we're super excited to be there. And they got a silent auction, they got a live auction. What are we going to buy? I don't know. We have a couple beers. I go through, and I'm just, and I don't even read what's on the sheet for the silent auction.
Sure.
But it's like, oh, you know, we'll just bid it up, and if we win something great, you know, whatever. And I did. And it was awesome. I won like some books and an awesome call that was, who made that?
Rick Robbins. I got one right here.
Dude, incredible call, which I think
we're going to talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, this is after like 5 or 6 beers at the end of the night, but I grab it. And it's the shortest call I've ever had in my whole life.
Very stubby.
And I'm looking at him going, I don't even know how to blow it. And I went to go blow it, and I think it was you. And you're like, you're blowing the wrong end. Yeah. Yep, yeah, I am. There's no sound coming out.
I'm new. Is this a duck call or something?
Well, it was like, it's super.
Suck start, Chris.
Yeah, it's super fancy maple, and it's all this, and it's this weird shape. Anyways, it's incredible, by the way.
The sound is really good.
It's really, really good. But at the end of the night, James is farting around with some weird wood. He's like, "Oh yeah, I won this." I'm like, "I don't even know what is it." And he's like, "Was it your knife?"
Yeah.
And you pull out a pocket knife, and you're like, "Check this out," and you adjusted it and took his pocket.
Because Josh showed me, and that's why I wanted it. So
I didn't even know what it was. Otherwise, I would have bought it. I was so pissed. It's so cool. So it's like a magnetic knife stand, but it's adjustable,
Right?
And then it looks classy.
Oh, it's freaking beautiful.
Yeah. It's like a prized possession to me now. I put it up on top of my gun safe. I'm going to put a nice knife on it.
Well, for people at home, it's not like one of those things that you just stick your knife on, like, and the magnet sticks to it. It floats.
Yeah, it floats.
Yep.
Nothing is touching.
Like it's levitating almost.
Yes, it's incredible. It's like magic.
I know.
It's like Hogwarts.
I was super jacked, dude.
It's Hogwarts for knives. I was so pissed that I didn't.
So when I won that, I thought I was only bidding on that. I didn't even read the other stuff. Josh was over there and he showed me the knife thing. It was like, yeah, I build these, and you just adjust it and you put your knife on. I was like, I have to have it. So I kept going over there every once in a while, and I think there was maybe one other guy that was going over and bidding against me on it.
I
for
would
a while.
outbid the shit out of you.
Well, yours was down there a ways. I think you just.
I don't know. I just went through and signed my name and everything, but I didn't really know what it was. So I didn't.
I was shocked that it didn't go for a lot more money. Honestly,
there was so much going on.
I was like,
so
okay,
exciting.
I'm gonna cap it off at like $500.
Right,
is what I was thinking, and I got it for way more less than that.
Yeah, those silent auction bundles were.
Dude, and then I came with a really nice
good deal.
painting, like a
Right.
really nice painting.
Yeah, I got 3 handmade predator calls from Rowden Game Calls.
Yeah.
Like hand-turned burl calls. Really nice stuff.
Yeah.
But all 3. So, yeah.
Nice.
I can't wait for the next one. I'm buying everything.
Dude, I was jacked. So mine came with 2 of these.
Oh, nice.
And
So
I
might as well just
I
keep my
gave
wallet
one-
in my pocket.
Then at the
you
end,
gave
Doug's
me
like,
one.
"Can I have that one?" I'm like, "You can have the purple one. Here you go."
And then I knew I had one, and I'm like, "Are you giving my calls away?" And you're like, "No." And I'm like, "You got those too?" And
Yeah, you got one too, right?
I did, and it's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
The sound is incredible.
Yeah.
It does. I think it was a raspy rabbit, fawn in distress, or bear cub in distress, depending on how you hold it and cup your hand. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna play around with it. I know that the sound sounds really good. It's crisp, it's clean, and it's super loud. Like for how small
That's
this
what
call
you
is.
need. You need that noise.
Like you're getting a good distance out there with this call.
Oh, yeah. You can tell the whole story with that one call.
Oh
right
yeah.
there.
Yeah. You could go things are heating up and something's happening over here, and all of a sudden, oh my gosh, this thing's dying, to gurgling sounds. You could go through the whole set with this thing easy. Which,
speaking of calls,
yeah, let's get into some predator call and stuff. That's what we.
So
Yeah. Moving forward after we've been all sidetracked.
Yeah.
James and I were talking earlier, and he was telling me about how you have done a fair amount of predator calling.
I have indeed for the last few decades.
Let's hear about that. Why don't you tell me?
So it started off with, hunting all my life and just getting the opportunity maybe to take a shot at a coyote here and there. Led to years of an obsession with hunting only predators. I didn't hunt big game for years at all. If it was hunting, it was predators, primarily coyotes. I was fortunate enough to live in an area of Utah where not only were the coyotes plentiful, but the state offered a handsome bounty. So it made what I enjoyed doing have maybe a little bit of payoff, maybe a little bit of gas money back. Nothing in the grand scheme of things, but $50 a dog, and I think for a couple of years there it was up to $100 a dog. So
That
strong work, Utah.
yeah,
awesome.
no,
Come
and
on,
they've
Washington,
done
step
an
up.
excellent job at managing their
Slayer.
game populations for ungulate health. So they still offer a bounty most years.
Do they really?
For coyotes?
Oh, shame on you, Washington.
Well,
So-
we got so many coyotes.
It's so bad.
So as you know, if you spend any time calling coyotes, you'll start calling in other stuff. Bobcats occasionally.
Yeah, baby.
They're fun to call in, aren't they?
I love me some bobcats, too.
Talk
Bobcats
about
are
a
cool
dumb
animals.
critter once you get their attention.
Yeah, they
They'll-
get
they'll-
hyper focused.
Oh yeah, it'll take them forever to come in, but they'll come right in till you're done calling. And then so yeah, it was just any opportunity to coyote hunt. Did some competition stuff here and there.
With like the coyote competitions.
Yep.
I've always wondered about those. Like, how does that whole system work? Like, is it a popular thing?
They're up and down in popularity. They're popular to ban. And
Well,
make
Washington
illegal
wanted
in
to,
your various states now.
Any hunting thing, yeah.
And then unfortunately, they've become difficult in like a lot of them have changed hands and ownership, so they operate under different rules, and it's not so much a fair competition in a lot of cases. It's who's got time and money to spend. You've got guys flying in to check in, flying back to their home state, killing a bunch of coyotes, flying them back in to check in by the time it's time for check-in. I mean, how much money are they spending doing that for a few $1,000s
Compared to
prize money, you know?
someone that's just doing it on the side when they got their own, free time.
So,
Right.
a lot of that, it changed a lot of the big competitions and a lot of the big contests.
So before we get too far along, I've already gotten a ton of shit from Matt Russell on every single episode, Matt. and I don't ask, because I know he's going to ask this, right?
Right.
There's a specific question. He's going to say, "Why didn't you ask him what he shoots coyotes with? Like, what's his preferred coyote gun?"
Yeah.
What's my preferred coyote gun?
I think that you should just do that every episode. You should just do a Matt Russell question.
Matt Russell.
All right.
Just to make him happy.
All right, Mr. Matt Russell. 12 gauge.
Really?
There you go.
Okay.
calling him in close?
These days, it's primarily 223. Historically, for me, it's been 12 gauge.
Really?
Yeah.
So when you do your calling,
Cheap and easy to have.
like
That's true.
so I don't know what Utah is
Doesn't
like, but I'm
necessarily
guessing
that
it's
bad
probably
either.
more like Eastern Washington. Is that where you're hunting, or is it more like Western Washington?
The areas that, I lived in southeastern Utah, so it's a lot more like eastern Washington. It's
Okay, so-
desert, sagebrush.
So we're big open areas. You have a call set, electronic or mouth call?
Combo.
Okay.
always with an e-call because you can only stand to have
Blow
so
so
much
much.
breath and
Yeah.
be so dizzy
Right.
at times.
And
It's hard to
so
focus.
to,
'Cause you gotta
get
do
them
it
in to shotgun range,
constantly.
I would think, like, I'm a long range rifle guy, right? I see him at 800 yards, I'm yanking triggers, right? Instantly. Just, I guess we're done, right?
Sure.
So
It's hard not to do.
Right.
Oh, my-
yeah.
oh, boy.
So you have a call set at like how far away from you?
It depends on what wind situation you're playing, but let's say between 40 and 50 yards max.
Okay. And you're yanking triggers at 40, 50 yards with your shotgun you're shooting. And what load you shooting?
If they're hanging up at 70, and I'm pretty confident, then they're probably going to catch something at 70. But
Really?
that's about max.
And
yeah.
what load you shooting for coyote?
So I prefer a load called Dead Coyote. And I can't for the life of me
I love
remember.
this load.
Oh yeah, I'll have to send you guys some info on it.
Yeah.
But it's double aught buck works well too, but there's some definite specific coyote loads out there.
Really?
For 12 gauge.
Okay.
So is it like what is it? Is it a slug? Is it it's not a slug. It's probably like double aught buck or
it's
something.
Buck.
Okay.
Yeah, it's how many shots in there? I think maybe 6 is all in there.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I'm guessing like
Probably stays really tight
Like how-
too.
They
Like-
do, yeah.
yeah.
That's why I say 70 yards is achievable.
well, like
Yeah.
the advent of like when the Judge came out, like the handgun, right? The 45 410, right? And all of a sudden you saw this explosion in 45 410 shotgun shell,
yeah,
like
for
Right.
different
Y-
specialties.
Yeah, like, we're going to do this for 45, but the 410 market, I mean, the ammo, unfortunately, blew up in price, but it blew up in, like, you have this and this and this and all these different things. And, like, you had these self-defense rounds now with, like, plates and BBs and all this
Right.
stuff. And I was just like, could you imagine getting shot by one of these? These things they're like instant sprinkler rounds, right? I mean, just like, between these flat copper plates and these BBs and all this stuff. And I was thinking about that 'cause I've never hunted a coyote in my life with a shotgun ever, right? I mean, I either have like an AR, right, which was pretty common around here before Air Inslee banned them,
The
but
Fühler.
that's
Das Fühler.
yeah, I'd salute him right now. Probably get banned for that on
We
YouTube.
will never get through an episode without throwing
I
Inslee under the bus.
freaking hate that guy.
I think even when he's in,
We
in
got
the office, he'll
It's
still
what
be
makes
a
the
topic.
episode.
I hate his guts. And by the way, just to touch on that, I sent James and Doug this. He just passed 150 new laws last week. You guys should Google some of that stuff. Real top notch, real quality work.
150 bills he signed in.
Yeah, good job, Jay.
Some of it is whacked out. Weird
Dude, it's so
stuff,
dumb.
Too.
He's going out, so
Yeah.
he's just like, yeah, you know what I'm
He's like, yeah, we'll sign all of them in.
yeah, sure. What do you want? Yeah, sounds
Send
good.
them on down. Get them in.
So you're shooting these coyotes. You got a shotgun. You're with the coyote killing round, which I will Google. It's going to be great.
Best name for it.
But you're Utah.
Coyote killer.
Then you
Dead
go.
coyote.
Then you go to Arizona,
Dead coyote.
right? Are you hunting coyotes and stuff there? I know they got a good
Yep.
bobcat population there.
Coyotes in Arizona.
Okay.
There's a lot of coyotes in
There's a
Arizona.
lot of coyotes in Arizona.
Is there really?
Yeah.
Yeah. The hunting's terrible.
Is it really?
No.
I feel there's a guy on the Instagrams, and I had sent him a message, which is the dumbest thing you could ever do, because I'm just like, hey, I put a house in Arizona if you want to go hunting there, right? And I don't even remember who it was, but I was just like, hey, like, it's in the greater Phoenix area, right?
Sure.
I got a place in Peoria, so I'm like, outside the 101, you would think that like there's got to be a bunch of hunting there, right? Like as far as like coyotes and bobcats and things of that nature.
There's a lot
but
of
you
bobcats
were
there.
you were southeast.
Southeast of Peoria. Yeah.
So tell me about that.
I was fortunate enough to have access to a lot of areas. There's a lot of dairy in that area.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah. What is that? I can't remember what that little town is called. It starts with an M over there.
Don't give them all your hot spots.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't give
out
up.
of-
there's
out of that
dairy,
area.
really?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Huh.
So east of or west of the interstate there.
Yeah. Really?
Yep.
Yeah, I
Good
remember
hot spot.
driving
Really?
through areas of Arizona and seeing giant, massive dairy farms, and you're just like, what in the? But that's where.
Yeah, that's kind of how that whole area is from where I was telling you. I'd lived before almost all the way down to Tucson.
Right.
There's a lot of dairy down there.
Huh. So you moved down there. You're doing some coyote hunting, some predator hunting there.
Coyotes, bobcats again.
Okay.
Cougars, up until recently, been really heavily regulated in Utah. I never got the opportunity to hunt cougar in Utah. It was a draw situation.
But did you ever call a cougar in Utah?
Never. I was along on a trip one time with a guy, and we called in a cougar on that trip in Utah.
Okay.
Outside that, as far as just calling goes, I've not called any cougars in outside of Washington.
Really?
Right.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute. So you're in Washington. You went Utah, Arizona, Washington.
I spent about 5 years down in Texas.
Okay.
I was pretty career oriented at that time, so there was some hunting, but nothing spectacular going on.
Okay.
You went where the work was.
Yeah, exactly. And then back to Utah for a short time, and then finally here to Washington in 2016. Since then, I've noticed the human cougar conflict has grown quite a bit.
It is massive.
A lot since 2016. You
Yeah.
virtually heard nothing, and now.
Well, let's talk about that for a little bit. So every year now, it used to be very, very rare, and they still say it whenever there's an attack or a human conflict. They say it's so rare, right? But now it's not so rare because it's happening every year in Washington alone, and sometimes multiple times a year. What just happened in California, and those two young guys, the older brother died.
Yeah, kid died.
Yeah. The other kid got mangled pretty good, and that was just like, a week and a half separated from that lady that just got mangled here in Washington.
Yeah, it wasn't too far apart.
In the
And-
same area that it had just happened the previous year. So it's like it's happening all the time now.
I feel like that ties in a lot to not only the population rising, but like now they have this big push to where like they want to take our specifically the Washington State Fish and Game Commission wants to take away our seasons, right? So where I hunt in Montana, you can't hunt grizzly bear, period, right?
Mm-hmm.
No grizzly bear hunting. One of the it wasn't a fish and game person. I think it was like
The biologist.
I think it was some sort of biologist, yeah. And she got attacked. There was two young bears attacked her. But where I hunt, every single year, probably the past 5 years, a game warden has come by and said, "Hey, by the way, heads up, someone has been attacked in like let's say Ennis or like some of these southwest areas in Montana every single year, and multiple people die every year, and you never hear about it, right?" And now all of a sudden, the State Fish and Game Commission in Washington is trying to take away the cougar pipe, and to kind of explain the Montana part. Bears aren't hunted there.
Mm-hmm.
You can't hunt them. They have no fear of humans, right? So like they view humans as food, like we're prey, right?
Yeah, they're more likely to do that. Yeah.
Most likely, yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you don't ever get shot at, right? When you go to Alaska, which I hunt all the time, when you see a grizzly bear, they turn around and run away.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen a grizzly bear in the States that has seen me and turned around and ran away.
It's not going to get shot at.
Yeah,
so,
because it's never been shot at, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now that they're trying to like cinch down these cougar seasons, and the cougars are growing exponentially, right? Not only the population is, but their habitat is closing down, right? Because
Hammering the deer.
dude, hammering the deer, right?
population is
Because we've been doing a really good
the
job.
last 20 years is like, wow.
We've been doing a great job of raising the deer population, right? Because we're at 3-point minimum. All these young deer are growing bigger and bigger and bigger. We're getting more deer. And now I was over at James's cabin 2 years ago, and I saw 3 cougars. And how many times have I been in the woods and never seen a cougar? 20 years.
We could.
And how many deer did you see in that area?
None.
Yeah.
Yeah, and previous years that was covered in. I mean, like not even a long time separated. What, 2 years? 1 year?
Yeah, at least what was crazy now that you say that is actually I've seen a lot more deer in that area now that those cougars are gone. Because there was a ranch family that had to call in
Fish and game.
and get them removed.
And guess who
lethally.
paid? Guess who paid to go get those cougars killed? We did.
We did.
Yeah,
We did.
we paid
Call-
for cougars to go to the landfill.
Yeah. And now, I don't know if you guys have, like, James knows this. In the past couple of years, we've seen traps in the middle of. We have a stretch of timber right here on I-5, and we've seen these big, huge, giant traps because we'll get like a bear or something in the middle of I-5 here that starts living in that timber.
Yeah.
And so now we have to pay to trap this bear and get it taken away or whatever. And we're like, oh, that's good. Like, whatever. No big deal. All of a sudden, I have game cameras all over, right? In the past 2 months, you think? Mm-hmm. In the past 2 months, I've seen 4 different cougars at my house, 50 yards from my house. 4 different cats, 2 young juveniles, and probably like a mid-sized female and a giant tom.
Yep.
Like very distinct, definitely 4 different cats.
Do you have any cameras down by all your animals?
Down by the farm.
I'm about to,
That
I would
might
just
not
be
be a
curious
bad
as
idea.
to-
you know.
I mean, because those things have no fear. Like they'll in the dark, they'll walk right down the road and go walk up to your farm, and
think
they
about
probably
it.
scare
Why do you think they're showing up so much?
I just think there's a couple things.
They
I think
push
there's
the deer in here too.
I think there's
Yeah.
a massive increase of predators, period, right? And I think that human habitat, like we've encapsulated so much of their wild range, right? And when we've cut it off, right, with road systems and housing developments, and it's like, I mean, it is what it is, right? You can't put it back in the box, right?
And we're not putting pressure on cats either.
No.
There's zero pressure on them.
So they're just going to go out and like
Do whatever they want.
How many people do you know who've killed mountain lions? I know 2, right?
It's usually on accident per se. I mean, it's an opportunity that pops up. It's not usually somebody who's out there looking.
I knew 2 people who were hunting them. Doug Bowes, right? And Brent Thiel were out calling, specifically hunting cats. Brent almost got 8. Luckily, he's fast enough with his gun where he spun around, shot this cat at 10 yards. And same with Doug. Like, this cat was watching him the whole time, and he spun around and shoots his cat. But I'm like,
Dude, it's wild.
it is wild. It's like,
Well, you heard about? Did Hardtalk tell you that story from last weekend?
oh yeah, like
The
a mile north of the house here.
Yeah, a mile away. So his buddy, his brother and his buddy, run together in the tree farm here, right? And they do like he trains marathon stuff. So they do like a 15-mile run through gravel roads. Well, it comes around the corner up here, and there's 2 juvenile mountain lions in the road, laying in the road, and they don't run away. He does the whole make yourself look big, and starts throwing rocks at them. And the one cat kind of just walks off the road, and the other one just gets all pissy with him, starts throwing rocks, waving sticks, ends up hitting it with a stick, and it finally runs off. I mean, this is right here, and that's not normal mountain lion behavior. A mountain lion should see a person and be like, "Oh crap, split," and it's during season too. I mean, granted, they're protected here in the tree farm, but at the same time, that's not typical behavior of a mountain lion.
No, I had an
It's
incident.
learned behavior.
I had a situation this year where I called in 2 juvenile cats, and they sat out about 80 yards from where I was sitting, and they were probably another 30-ish yards from where the call was. And when they finally realized what the situation was, they both buggered out. I was not really sure how old they were, so I wasn't taking a shot on either one, but just watching them off at 80 yards away, poking around. I'm sure if I would have stood up sooner, they would have been gone sooner. It was they must have been harassed before or something. But
I think it's probably generational. Like if a mom cougar has no fear of humans and teaches that kind of behavior to her young, there's a good chance that they're not going to care about humans.
Now, to back
especially
that up,
over here because there's so many people.
Right.
To back that up just a minute, you see these cats. Don't get me wrong. You're a cool guy. You've killed like a gajillion critters. Why aren't we shooting these cats?
Kind of a little bit of a holdout.
Okay.
In this same area,
You got something on tap.
a month previous, I got some camera photos of a different cat in there.
Okay.
And
I was gonna say
yeah.
there's got to be a story
He was
behind
hunting for
this.
that. He was hunting for that big Tom.
Because
so
I
for about a week after I get camera photos, I'm back calling that spot, and I call in a cougar, but by the time I realize that something is coming out of the bushes,
Right.
that cougar is realizing that I'm there and
In the bushes,
I
yeah,
get
and it's
maybe a foot and a half of head, neck, and front shoulder, and then nothing but tail like it's on fire. So
really.
yeah,
So it's a good cat.
it's a good cat.
It's
yeah.
a good cat.
Yeah.
I got
It's
one of
gonna
those.
have to wait until next year.
I got one of those roaming around here too, and it's just, oh man. But I'll tell you what, if those two smaller cats, I mean, I'm talking they're probably like, you saw the pictures. What do you think they're like?
70 pounds,
70-pound cat. And
I'd shoot it.
And then I got a picture of a cat that is. My dad shot a 205-pound cougar, got it mounted, and it's a dandy.
That is a huge
It's a
cat.
dandy cat, right? And I have a picture of a cat that I'm not kidding you, looks every bit as big as this cat, and
There's some big ones.
it's huge. I mean, the picture is like 25, 30 yards, but it's in front of my pickup truck, so you can gauge like,
Gotcha.
this is a 35-inch tire on this pickup truck, right? And then like this is and it's a massive cat, and I'm like, but then we had and to be completely honest, the female, remember the white one, the super white cat that I showed you? I would shoot that one in a heartbeat too.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well, if you give me
I'm
that
saying-
day back with those two juveniles, I'm shooting one right now.
right,
I
you
mean,
know,
it's-
Right.
and it's like, you
Yeah.
know, because you're always holding out, right?
It's always
Try,
dang
yeah.
it, I should have, could have.
Yeah.
That's like that coyote that we sat and watched for like an hour at like 60 yards, where I could have just blasted it.
Oh yeah, we're like,
We were
well,
sitting there for
because we were
bear-
calling bears,
for
you
bear
know, and
hunting.
we're like, we have this coyote come in and just beautiful coyote too, like full thick coat, and just sits down
Sits
proper
down
in
with the
front
call
of us and
still going
stares for like forever.
for at least a half hour.
These guys are not me.
So
Listen,
I'm yanking triggers.
I was gonna say.
We talked. We
I'm
said
sorry,
we'd never do it
guys.
again.
If you're ever with me and we're 10 miles in the back country and we're hunting deer and I see a coyote, we having ourselves a coyote hunt.
Dude.
There's
I love
no-
it,
there's
and
no way
I've
around
become
it.
that way now because there's so
100%.
many
There's
times
so many
that
times.
I've been like, oh, I could have shot this, and I'm like, no, I don't want to blow it out, and then nothing happens. It's like, no, if you get the opportunity to predator manage,
Screw it.
just
Get-
do it.
Get after it.
Do it.
Yeah.
You so what? You blew out the area. Well, you
Well,
shot a coyote.
How
or you
many
got a bobcat.
populated areas have you been to and you hear a gunshot go off and you hear another one during the day?
Exactly.
Or the next day, or
They don't,
I don't
care.
think you're going to blow anything
They know
out
when they're
too
getting
bad.
shot at,
Sure.
and when there's a shot ringing off.
Yeah.
They don't. I've watched deer and had, I shot rain off 400 or 500 yards away, and the deer just like look up, and then they just go back
they're
to their
shooting
business.
east.
And
Yep.
and the very first deer I ever shot, which started all of this, right? And if you're not on the YouTubes, imagine you're sitting in like the room of death, Right.
It's a classy room of death.
boy.
It's a class. It is chock full of critters that I have killed and put in my stomach and turned into.
Oh, there's every bit of 20, 30 species in here.
There's a lot of different species in here because, like, I love hunting, and it was all started by a guy who shot at a coyote down below the hill, and I was on a place called the Graveyard in Winthrop, Washington, which is like the deer mecca, right? And all these deer ran up, and I shot this deer, and it was the first big game critter I've ever killed in my whole life, and it's sitting right behind Doug. It's that little 2.3 or 2x3 right there, and it started all this because a guy shot at a coyote.
All because a guy shot at a coyote and fell in love.
And I remember I hear a shot, and I'm like, and I had no idea. I'm pretty sure it was Eric down there. If you're listening, I highly doubt you are, but I'm pretty sure. I don't know if it was Eric or Kenny, one of the two guys that I was hunting with, and one of them shot at a coyote, and those deer ran up, and I was so excited. I remember I'm sitting below this little pine tree, and it was just starting to snow, and the deer come up, and they're like coming up from the right to the left, and they're coming up, I'm like, and I see the 3-point because it's 3-point or better, right? And I'm like, and I shoot this deer, and I'm like, and I just like the feeling that I felt, right? Mm-hmm. And after I shoot this deer and everything goes down, and I remember them telling me the story, they're like, oh yeah, well, I was down there. A coyote came. I was like, ah, should I shoot this coyote? Ah, heck with it. Missed, by the way. But still.
Well, I mean, we just had Bjorn on talking about he heard that random shot rang off.
Right.
And then went up there and finds this blood trail and follows it and kicks a mountain lion.
Yeah.
Literally.
It shoots it literally point blank.
Literally. Physically.
Yeah.
I mean, it helps he's a gigantic man, but still, like.
It's.
Well, I think it's funny how he told that story so nonchalant. It's like,
Dude,
yeah,
he's
I
so
just kicked it,
nonchalant.
and then it went rrr, and I went bang, and I'm like, whoa, back up. What
Right?
just happened?
That was wild.
Oh, I just kicked a cougar and shot it. And it was,
I feel like anything mountain lion related is like, there's never like a dull mountain lion hunting story. Like, it seems like it's always very colorful. Like, there's always something crazy going
Right.
on. It's never just like, oh, yeah, I was sitting there and I was glassing this clear cut and this lion walked out at 100 yards and I dropped it. It's never like that, right?
No.
It's always like, it was
gets
following
Western.
me.
I mean, how many
or-
places have you hunted, me and you've hunted where, like, big cats are, like, they're out there?
Pretty much everywhere we hunt.
Yeah.
All the time. And when we
Yeah.
were kids, we
were
probably
in-
were too dumb to see these damn things because we had big cats around us all the time. I mean, we'd
Yeah.
walk up on the gut pile that was from a deer the day before or, hours before.
Yeah.
And there's cat prints in the gut pile. And you're just like,
There's so many
Huh.
cats in that area.
we're too dumb. We probably just blew it off the gut pile.
Probably.
Yeah. Because, I mean, there's still lots of food there. And that's what we do. But we didn't know any better,
And now that place is infested with cats.
It's completely infested with cats and wolves.
Yeah. Nothing left there.
Yeah.
So, Josh, since you're more of a, I would speculate you're more of a coyote guy. You're gonna target this big cat next year now.
Oh yeah, I spent some time targeting this cat this year.
So tell me
The prime difference between coyote calling and cat calling is length of time. So
lay that out a little more for me.
if I'm gonna make a set for coyote and I'm I have a decent intel that it's gonna be a productive set, I'll call sometimes as short as 5 minutes for coyote.
Okay.
I'll generally try and stick it out for 8 to 10 minutes before I'm off to make another set.
10 minutes on a coyote set, and that's it.
Yep. If there's some sort of an activity, like maybe I've pulled up and I've locate howl or something, and I've got somebody close by responding, and I'm not getting any signs of them coming in that 10-minute time period, I might stretch it out to 12 minutes or 15 minutes.
Because you've heard a howl.
Because I've heard, somebody
So
in the
you
area,
Okay.
They're just hanging up or something, you're thinking.
Keep in mind though, once I shut down a call on a set, I'm not budging for another 5 minutes. So that takes, if I'm on a 10-minute call set, I shut my call down. I made it a 15-minute set because.
So let's back it up real quick.
Okay.
So you pull up to a spot. You know you're gonna hunt this. Say it's a farmer's field, right? And you're like, all right. You shut the truck off. You get out. You go sit at your set. You set your call out 40, 50 yards, and walk me through the exact time frame, how long you're sitting there, how long you're calling, everything.
So, if you're in that situation, you're going to want to conceal your vehicle. You're not going to want your vehicle to be visible.
Okay.
You'll go playing, wind direction based on it's hard to say really specific.
Let's say the wind's in your face.
Topography.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, we'll say wind's in your face. If you can't play the wind sideways, set your call out 40, 50 yards. Again, it's terrain dependent.
Mm-hmm.
You want to get it out there a little bit because
Obviously you're on the high side. We're looking down the slope, just like TV.
Yep. Ideally, you're
Right.
gonna want to try and get as much of an angle field of view as you can.
Right.
You're gonna want to know where you're setting up before you set your call out. Because if it doesn't work out, you set your call out and you're set up somewhere where you've got no shot angle. Well, you just blew that set. You've got to go retrieve your call.
Gotcha.
So set your call out 40, 50 yards. You settle into your set. It depends on what you're shooting and what you're shooting off of. You want to be comfortable because you don't want to be moving around, right?
You not want to fidgeting around or adjusting yourself all the time.
Even when you're hand calling, you've got to be pretty cognizant of your hand movement and stuff like that.
So let's say you have this sweet Fox Pro game call.
Perfect.
It's got a little doohickey that's flopping around. Let's say you have I'm talking tits, Cantrell Outdoors, sniper rifle set up. You're on some bipods. You're all dialed in. You got your backpack. You're leaned against a little hill. You're looking down. You got field of view, 600 yards. Lights just break and you hit the call. What are you doing next?
Well, you made this situation way too comfortable already.
I was going to say, what are we on TV, Chris?
There's usually a fair amount of discomfort, but we're gonna roll with this one.
You got a stick poking the end of the side.
Yeah, man.
There's
Pop
a
off
rock.
with an area. If you're not sure what's in the area, get some locator howl going.
Okay.
Let a couple howls rip through your e-collar. Shut it down.
What
Listen
kind of howl
listen
are
for
you
a
doing?
second.
Are you doing just
So most of your Fox Pro or Lucky Duck or whatever you're running has got some sort of a locate howl.
Yeah.
Something like a coyote would use to, ask Dave where he's
So like
at.
30 seconds, a minute, how long are you running that?
Not even 30 seconds, maybe
Okay.
10, 15 seconds.
And then you
run
shut
that.
it down.
Shut it down.
For how long?
Listen for I don't know, probably 20, 30 seconds.
Okay.
And then jump right into your distress call.
And if you don't hear anything, you run your distress.
You'll run your
call.
distress call anyways.
But if you say you run your locator and then you hear, what do you do?
So you're going to judge how far off that was.
That's 737 yards.
Yeah, crank that call all the way up to 10 and start pounding your distress call.
Okay.
You'll run that. So there's a lot of controversy about volume.
Okay.
I'm a pretty much max it out guy.
I like
a
that.
lot of
Yeah,
guys
I am
will
too.
start off.
Full tilt like a Peterbilt.
Yep.
I like it. Let's
there
go.
you go. A lot of
Yeah.
guys will start off quiet. Well, you don't know what's close by and what's far away, or
Those
if
guys
it's
are
close
pussies.
by and you ever
Guys-
heard a dying rabbit,
there you
it's
go.
loud as
that's
shit.
that's my
so-
theory.
Let's
go.
Is death is loud, right?
Yeah, it's very loud.
So crank that sucker up to 11. Rip the knob off. Let it play.
Like it.
If you see a dog coming in and it hangs up, right? Let's say you started off 700 yards out there. You got a dog ripped into maybe 300. He's hung up, well, you've got your super badass Cantrell Outdoors sniper rifle. You could pick that sucker off.
Oh, super easy.
No
300
problem.
yards.
Yeah, chip
I'm
shot.
shooting his eyelashes off,
Chip
bro.
shot.
Yeah.
All right, but we're gonna hold up for a minute, right?
Okay, all right.
He's hung up out there. What's he doing? I don't know. Is he? You're kind of reading behavior at that point. Is he hung up waiting for a buddy to join him?
Yeah.
Is he hung up because I hear that, but I'm not really interested, but I'm kind of interested, but I don't know. I'm just gonna sit here. So generally, you're gonna want to switch up your call sound.
Okay.
If he's hanging up like that.
Yep, if he's hanging up, hit him with some like a woodpecker or just something different. See if it's a sound.
Okay.
The reason he's hung up out there.
I've heard it's like a change of pitch too.
Can be a change of pitch.
Yeah.
There's always going to be changing technology
Yeah.
with that stuff.
So, like, with the distress, too, like, obviously, I feel like it's area dependent, but, like, say we're running the field to Western Washington here, right, for the local viewers, and we say we're running, like, cottontails here, right, and a dog holds up, you got a shotgun, right, holds up at 300 yards, and you're like, crap, and we're in Sylvana. What are you gonna hit next?
Whatever's next in the lineup, it could be anything. They're not really keyed in on specific sounds.
Okay.
Sometimes it could be really enticing. Maybe the rabbit distress isn't doing it.
Okay.
Maybe you hit a raccoon fight
Really?
or something.
Okay.
Gets the curiosity going, or geez, I heard that dying rabbit. Now I'm hearing these raccoons going at it. What's going on over there?
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Or even a pup distress.
Okay.
Usually, I'll save a pup distress for ones that are hanging up that I know that they're waiting on another one come in to join them or
Okay.
skirt around
Yeah.
or directly after a shot.
Okay.
I'll hit pup distress. So he's hung up at 300 yards. We're not getting him to come in with any change of calls, right? We've tried 4 different call sequences at this guy. He's still sitting out there at 300 yards. Well, we pick him off in that situation.
Eyelash, Cantrell Outdoors, yeah.
Yep, exactly.
And to give
Other scenario is he's hung up out there, not really coming in, definitely still interested. You switch up your call. He starts coming in on a string, right? Mm-hmm. So you're always just kind of trying to read that behavior.
and to give this this call sequence some credit, how many coyotes do you think you've killed in your lifetime?
Just a ballpark.
A little braggadocious.
It's okay.
Oh, I hate giving a number to anything, but we're in the thousands.
In the thousands, people. Yeah. So all the guys that were sitting there thinking, like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, eat a bag of dicks. This guy has killed thousands of coyotes. I have not killed anywhere near thousands of. That's incredible.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
I've got an old pump shotgun that's got a couple hundred on it itself.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
That's freaking awesome.
I'm a little jelly.
Dude, I'm PB and jelly, bro.
So do you use one of these or like something like this?
Yep.
Well,
Okay.
James, for people that are not watching YouTube, can you explain that a little
So
bit?
this is a Ecotech.
So that would be a motorized decoy.
So it runs a motor and it runs a little tail thing and it flops around and then it stops, and you can you can adjust the speeds to be faster, more aggressive, and then it still stops and pauses. It's to mimic a distressed animal, basically. This one even has a little light that you can turn on if it's low light, or even, I don't know if I've never ran it in the dark. I would imagine that would probably be a little bit.
It's just so
if
you know
it's
where
a
your
smart,
call is
yeah.
sitting.
If it was a smart dog, though, is it going to be like, oh, that's a lit up thing? That's weird. Or do they just like, oh, they don't even think about that?
From what I've seen, the light really is a non-factor. It's what you do with that light. So if you're you can shine a flashlight across a field, right? And you can spot eyes, and you can be calling and just flip your light off and keep your call going and flip your light back on 10, 20 seconds later and scan your same field with your flashlight and pick up eyes even closer. They're not so much worried about the light, it's what's going on. If you're hunting with your buddy and he's scanning across a field or a meadow or an opening, and you end up in that light silhouette, or that light backlights you and casts your silhouette, yeah, you're done. Just pack up your stuff and leave, because you've just educated some dogs.
Yeah. Okay. That's kind of wild that they wouldn't be afraid necessarily of the light, but of like seeing something going on.
Yeah, no, I've done a fair number of night hunting stuff, and walk in with headlamps and stuff clear into a set and be just fine.
Really?
It's what you do with that light and what shadows you're casting and when you're doing it.
Don't silhouette yourself.
No, that's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's the same with
It's the same with just
in the
about
daytime
anything,
if
yeah.
you're
Right.
walking a ridge line, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. It makes total sense. So you've done quite a bit of nighttime coyote hunting.
Yep, nighttime was
The right time.
that was a good time. Was doing that at a time when it wasn't popular and nobody was really doing it. There was thermal out there, but it wasn't real popular on the consumer market. I had a lot of flashlights taped to scopes,
Okay.
so it worked.
I was just going to ask you,
pretty
thermal or
well.
night vision, but sounds like you went the old mag light.
Well, if you're hunting with a shotgun, you just tape it to the barrel.
Right.
Now thermal would be the way to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was flashlight and scope at one point.
Really?
And
That's pretty.
It's tough.
That's
You get used
so
to
tough.
it. You definitely get used to what you're doing.
Even if you have crummy thermals, like thermals are incredible.
Oh yeah,
And new
absolutely.
thermals,
Yeah,
sweet mother pearl.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
there's a
the
guy.
new expensive stuff.
Oh yeah, so we sell thermals out of the shop, right? And I got a buddy who just bought the new Pulsar, and it's not quite like completely HD. It's like it's like 1024. It's not 1080, but it's like I have like an old, I don't think it's 640. Even if it's 640, it's nothing near the new thermals. And if you have shot thermals versus night vision, the difference is Matt Russell. He'll yell at me for this too. So you need an external light source for night vision, right? So you have like an infrared light or whatever you're gonna put on your gun that critters can't see, right? Like a green light or red light or whatever it is. I don't have any night vision, but the thermal, you need zero external light, right? So it's like infrared or whatever it is, the waves that they use, and some nerds can pipe in on the YouTubes on this, but it can be completely. I mean, I'm talking like dark, like dark.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
You're looking at
No,
heat.
no moonlight even.
And it sees perfectly. I mean, I'm talking like the new stuff. It's incredible, the detail. And so he was showing me. So this is a guy who just shot a cat north of me. Not thermal. It was just skulking around his property. But I was talking to him about this, and I was like, "Man, have you taken your thermal out, like shot any coyotes yet or anything?" He's like, "Haven't shot anything yet with it, but I took it out, and it's like filming HD with your like the brand new cell phones, where it's like HDR or whatever that crap is, right? That's how good the new thermals are, and it's incredible. Like,
Cost a fortune, but
oh yeah, they're
$4,000, $5,000.
$9,500.
Oh,
for the
Yeah.
New.
Yeah. They're $9,500.
A little bit more.
I think the Rico
Take
70
that number and double it.
the
What's your
Rico
guys'
75 is $18,000.
Jeez.
For what?
I think it's a Rico 75 and it's the 1080p basically, right? Like thermal.
What?
It's I want one so bad.
$18,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
I
But
don't know, Chris. They make some pretty good ones.
I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can justify
What's-
spending
the one that I got is
$18,000
that-
just to shoot a
That
coyote
I got
at
from
night.
you. What is that? That's like a. Those are like what, 15 to
dedication.
18.
yeah,
Right?
like, like an
Seriously.
ATN.
I mean,
like-
it's not high. Like it's not.
It'll-
Like the clarity isn't great, right? But you can see the shapes and you can
but
see
you
what
can,
it is.
Yeah, it'll get you in the game. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like that's the thing is like, say for instance, we go to watch the foosball games, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's we got that 27-inch tube television to the left, right? And then we got a 12-inch high definition 4K screen to the right. You're still watching the same game, right?
Right.
You might be able to see the sweat on the brow of this fella over here, and you might be able to see, oh, that's a football player over here.
Mm-hmm.
You're still watching the same game, right? So that's the difference.
Right.
So you should still buy a thermal.
We need to get some night hunts going.
They're a whole new experience all on their own. It's not just the hunting and the calling and the coyotes. It's the
being out. It's quiet.
being out in a different element because you're in the dark. It's the interactions that you have with people that you encounter occasionally in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the night.
The things that you see, right?
That can be
Weird-
funky.
weird stuff,
yeah.
right?
And you can really scare the hell out of people and not even realizing that you're scaring them. So,
Well, you were just talking about like you just did something with a bunch of quote unquote operators, right?
sure.
So, operators who are watching this, probably none, but
Oh,
like
there's a few.
there's probably a few.
Scared people is just part of their game.
Well, so like we were talking earlier about like how the alarm went off and I had to clear the inside of the house, and that was just with a regular optic, and I have a light and a laser. But I had a situation where I had to clear the outside of the property in the middle of the night, right? Well, I have a thermal, right? So I go out, and it's not like I don't have nods, I don't have a helmet, I don't have all the cool stuff, right? So I just have a rifle and a scope with a thermal. So I have one eye that's thermal, which is bright, right? Like a computer screen, But I'm going around the same thing, and I'm clearing this property, and I'm seeing everything. Like, I'm seeing raccoons, and I'm seeing possums, and I'm seeing, oh, there's my mother-in-law's dog, and and you see everything, and it's just like, it's another world.
Oh yeah.
It is another
Everything's
world.
still milling around out
Yeah.
there.
And if you don't have a thermal, highly recommend.
Yep.
That's like one of the funnest hunting nights that I've ever had was when me and you went down in Texas
Oh my god!
and we were walking around with thermals. We didn't even shoot anything. We were just
Right.
walking around with thermals, looking at stuff, like walking around in the dark, like no lights, just like by the moonlight, just wandering around this big ranch, looking for coyotes and whatever,
It
We
was so
had
much fun.
coyotes howling all around us. Pigs. I think you can pig hunt in
Yeah,
Texas.
we
right?
did. The
At night?
kid. I'm trying to remember his name now.
What was his name?
Super young kid. So we went down there with Black Rifle Coffee, and we're taking a bunch of high
it
school
McGill?
kids out. No,
I don't know. Anyways, he was a good kid.
super good kid. Anyways, we're sitting.
I
there
got the
blind.
shitty kid who was a little
And it
problem.
gets dark, right? So like usually when it gets dark, you gotta leave. Well, I mean, you can hunt pigs in Texas at night, right? And I'm like, hey, by the way, I brought a rifle with a thermal, right? And he's never killed anything, no big game animal his whole life, right? And he's just like, okay, and I'm like, so I hand him my rifle, and I tell him okay, this is how we use it, like it's an AR. Show him everything functions, how the thermal functions, you turn it on. And I have a little handheld thermal. And so I would turn the handheld thermal on and be like, I checked, check. Oh, no pigs. And then a pig comes out. I'm like, okay, there's a pig, turn your thermal on. And he turns it on and he shoots this and just lays this pig out. And it was freaking awesome. And it was the first big game critter he's ever killed, right? And this was how many years ago?
3
years ago.
Probably 3 years ago now.
Yeah, 3 years ago. It was
Yeah.
right when I joined bear country.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of the best hunts I've ever been on. This kid was so jacked.
Mm-hmm.
It was so much fun. Like I think about that memory all the time still today, you know. And I was like, man,
it's a blast.
yeah, the cost of that thermal now is like insignificant because I was like, dude, it was awesome. And change that kid's life, hopefully, you know.
There you go.
Seemed like
Hopefully,
You gave
does.
him
You
a
have no
story
idea.
he's going to talk about forever.
Yeah,
Oh,
even
yeah.
if he
Yeah.
doesn't continue hunting
A
forever,
memory.
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
he'll never forget that,
Never
and
forget
that'll be
that.
a key moment in his life
Yeah.
at some point. You know, he'll look back and go, "Man, that was cool."
It-
And it could just be, "Man, Mr. Chris was so cool."
Mr. Chris was so
Might be the coolest thing he ever did.
You know, it changed me too, you know, with Black Rifle Cop. Oh, sorry, that's
Really, Lola? You
that's my pound puppy getting caught up in the
got
podcast
wrapped up
equipment.
Guard dog.
You all right?
Yeah, she's real tough. All 18 pounds.
you
of
getting
her.
into the liquor there, Lola?
What'd you think it was a snake down there or what?
But the like just Black Rifle, that was the very first experience I had with Black Rifle Coffee, and that was before they went public. And then when they did go public, I bought a ton of stock. A ton of Black Rifle Coffee, which I lost my ass on. Evan, if you're watching this, I lost a bunch of money.
He doesn't care.
He doesn't care. But put cream in your coffee, dude. Come on.
That's what I'm saying.
Half and half all day,
We
bro.
can have that conversation.
You know,
Oh,
I'm not
geez.
saying you need to put some vanilla creamer in there, but half and half, bro.
Yeah,
You know,
heavy cream.
Oh, come on. I'm a black coffee guy.
James is I know, like, and
I
that's
can go both ways.
and that's why you're 170 pounds.
I
and
like
that's why
whiskey in my coffee too.
yeah, and I'm 280 pounds. You know, like that's the difference. So
Well, so here's another question. So when you're running sounds, if you're setting up for, let's say specifically like bobcat, what sound are you rolling with if you're here in Washington right off the bat?
I will roll out any set with the cottontail distress.
period for predators.
Period for predators.
Okay.
And I don't use very many sounds, so a call can come with 400 or 500 sounds. I'm generally only interested in 4 or 5 of them. It just gets complicated.
Right.
And if you're fumbling through a folder looking for one stupid sound when generally the same 4 or 5 are going to do the job just fine, that's just how I roll with those.
That's pretty much
So
all I
nothing
roll.
different with Bobcat in any setup, really. It's just whether or not a cat comes in. Bobcats they're going to take longer than 15 minutes to come in usually. So
How long do you give on a bobcat set if you're specifically targeting bobcat?
So to be honest with you, any time that I've had success calling in bobcat, it's been that I've seen the bobcat at some point during the set. So if no matter where I'm at in the set, I'm going to continue to call until that opportunity is gone. But bobcats will take their sweet ass time coming in. You'll see them. They'll be plain as day when you finally see them, and they don't conceal that well. If they are coming in real slow and curious, they'll hide behind anything that they can hide behind, but you'll see their head poke out and take a look every couple of seconds until they decide they're going to creep forward some more. Once you've got a bobcat interested in coming into the call, you could stand up and take a leak in the middle of that thing coming in, and it wouldn't take off. They're not incredibly bright when
They
you
do
once
have
you've
good
got their-
eyesight, but
they
they're-
do. Once you've got their curiosity, though, they're as
That's
good as
why
a goner.
I always run one of these when
Yeah.
I'm calling. Like I feel like cats especially need more of a visible.
Yep. Exactly.
You know, something going on?
I'm more of a trapper than a caller, right? So
Okay.
that's I find this super interesting.
So a good crossover technique from trapping that I've used in calling is the same type of a mobile decoy like that, but
Visual cue.
I've used a broken off piece of fishing pole with a turkey feather
Really?
tied to it. So, and same
Well,
thing with trapping.
Well, you remember what didn't Doug Bose say he used like a CD disc or something like that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of guys will use those, or
I use
or,
I have a string, I have yarn and stuff that I hang
like
out.
holographic
Yeah.
tape
Yeah,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
some ribbon.
Something to catch their attention and attract them to
Yeah.
the area, right?
Right.
Same thing when you're calling. Like a cat doesn't want to just hear sounds; they want to see something visibly
They
too.
got to have something that catches their visibility, and then they're just keyed in, locked on to that whatever's going on there, and they can see movement elsewhere, but unless it's a real threat, they're still
zoned.
very
They're gonna
much
be keyed in
invested
on
on that decoy. Yeah.
Right. Well, I had a couple questions that I was going to ask that people.
And before you do that, I'm going to Stephen Renelli.
Go ahead, you jump in.
Go ahead. He's gonna find that information.
What's your very top 3 pro tips for someone trying to get into calling any predator in Washington State?
Top 3 tips.
Top 3.
Um,
The best for success. Like I want to go out tomorrow and kill a coyote.
What do I do?
What do I do?
well, if you want to go out tomorrow and kill a coyote, you need to have been out there yesterday and the day before and the day before and the day before that.
And why do I need to have done that?
Just to get yourself used to what a call set process looks like.
Okay.
And not, it varies every single time you go do a call set. You can go do a call set in the same, I wouldn't suggest it, but you could go do a call set in the same place 2 days in a row, and chances are you're going to set up in a different spot or a different angle, or something is going to be different about that set, even if you're calling the same terrain.
So you don't call the same place 2 days in a row.
Oh, I certainly wouldn't. No.
No, all you're going to do is educate them.
Yep. I try not to call the same place twice in a year, unless it is an area where I've gone and clearly not educated any coyotes. Like I've not seen them. I know they haven't seen me there. I haven't tipped any off. I haven't missed anything.
Right.
Or if an area has proven to be productive enough where I've called them in or called multiples in, I would feel comfortable calling that area and maybe going back a month or 2 later and calling that same area. But in general, once you've been to a specific spot, you're not going to probably call anything back in that same spot. So having a favorite coyote calling spot,
It's not really.
it's not really feasible.
No.
An area, sure. And that's the other beauty of calling sets is you can pull up to an area and you get a call set out and you do a sit and you don't fire a shot. You can walk a quarter mile and set up another call set. And if the topography and the area that of land that you have to work with is large enough, you can walk another quarter mile, another 600 yards, and you can set up another call set. And in any one area, so if you've got a couple thousand acres to work with of DNR or public land or private land, if you're that lucky, you can make several stands on 100 acres, and then move along or go back to a different section another day. So it's not that you've blown out everything for 5 miles around just because you've called an area.
Gotcha.
So there's
It's
options.
just you don't want to go put your call back in the same spot.
Yeah,
basically. because obviously things are not going to die in the same spot.
If you want to be a
You know,
if you
it's
want to
kinda-
be a
it's kind of
really
a common thinking
proficient,
type of
really
thing.
proficient, and give yourself the best opportunity for success as a coyote caller or predator caller, you probably want to have a minimum of 300 pins on your Onyx of spots where you're able to do call sets throughout, just let's say a winter.
Okay, we're gonna go 300 pins. We're gonna go 4 to 6 calls, right?
Right.
And then third one is gonna be
Let's see, what would be the other good?
I want to murder them. What am I doing?
Scent control. Scent
Scent
control is a
control.
big deal. Your own scent control.
So if I always smell like shit. Always.
Not always a huge problem, but you're going to limit yourself to only playing the wind.
I got another wind.
So I don't have a problem only playing the wind because a full-on scent control is a pain in the ass.
Because it's got to go left, right, or in my face.
Yeah.
Can't be at my back.
And if you're full-on scent control, you're driving to a set, you're dressing in a completely different set of clothes that are in a bin in the back of your truck.
I'm a poor. I can't do that. Yeah.
Well, a lot of us are, and that's okay.
So we can park.
You're playing the wind.
And we can walk, right?
We can park and we can walk.
And we can check the wind. If we don't have a little bottle of talc, we'll throw some dirt, right?
Light up a Marble Red. Do whatever you got to do to check that wind before
we're
you
going,
get out.
We're
there.
going grandpa.
Now we're
yes.
talking. I like this.
I like this guy. We're smoking the Marble Reds, right? No filter.
Yeah. Let's
And
get
we're
there before your call set, though. You know.
And we're just checking wind.
Yep.
I like
A little
that.
wind check.
Okay.
So if you're poor and you can't afford a little bottle of wind indicator, and there are options out there.
You can bum a cig.
You could do that.
Yeah.
I don't know who's not able to afford that. You put flour in there.
You never know.
You never know.
Folks
Just
are
go
good.
steal some of your kids'
Folks are good
chalk
for
and,
making
like,
excuses why they
crush
can't
it
do
up.
something.
I know.
I like that though. I'm a big fan. I mean, I think all of us like checking the wind.
So if you've got gas money and you've got Grandpa's old 12 gauge and a handful of shells and a hand call, you're coyote hunting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grandma's flour in a squeeze
Yeah.
bottle.
You don't even have to have a fancy e-call.
You don't
No.
know.
You know?
Practice.
Just get
Calling.
out there.
Speaking of
do it.
speaking of hand calls versus e-calls, your experiences. This is Brad Thompson asked this question. Your experience hand calls versus e-calls, antique wood hand calls versus plastic hand calls. Bears. I don't know what he wants to know for bears too, but
So
hand calls versus e-calls. Let's start there.
if I am calling for cats, let's say I'm targeting cats specifically, I'm not going without an e-call.
Because it's a lot.
Cougar, I'm on a set for 45 minutes minimum for a cougar, and I'm not going to blow on a call for 45 minutes. I'll blow on a call, but I'll have an e-call there doing the heavy lifting.
Right.
If coyote, bear, or anything else, you're good with any call, whether it's wood, acrylic. Here, I've got some show and tell, as a matter of fact.
Oh, I'm excited for this. Here we go. James has got a little show and tell too.
Yep.
This one is
So we just went to the American Bear Foundation, Washington,
It's not going to hear you unless you get a little bit closer.
fundraiser,
Yeah, there you
and
go.
James and I both won some calls, predator calls.
And Doug benefited off of my win too.
Yeah,
got-
'cause
so
I
Doug
don't.
has a
I don't
call,
ever
too.
win shit, so I just gotta take.
you just won.
I gotta
the other night,
take
okay?
the crumbs. Okay.
I'm sorry I gave you the purple one.
so.
I don't care.
Shout out Phelps game calls here. A lot of guys use reeds for cow, elk, for bugling and whatnot. These two guys right here, I'm sure a lot of people have seen. I have these in every jacket pocket that I own. these two right here.
Really?
These are my distress call. These are pup distress call. These are coyote. You can get barks out of these. These right here are my go-to. Just the...
Those are Phelps?
Yep, Phelps. They're amp.
Well,
A white and a pink.
A
Okay.
good thing to think about that is that eliminates your hand movement.
Yeah.
So, and that's part of why
Yeah.
I really like these reed calls, is because I can run them without having a hand in front of my face, or I can get a hand up in front of my face, and you can get kind of gurgly and,
Yeah,
and
you can
pretty
cup it,
nasty
yeah.
on a reed call.
I've never really messed around on reed calls other than elk and turkeys.
And let's
And
be
that's
honest.
just an elk call,
Yep.
right? And you just make it however
Yep.
you want to sound.
If no one has ever ran a Phelps call, let's do it. Go ahead.
Yeah, it sounds good. It's pretty damn
Kind of
good.
the full gamut.
I'm about to go get my gun right now. I am a huge Jason Phelps fan. Like, James and I met him in the Bozeman airport, and he is the nicest freaking guy.
He's
And
a good old boy.
He's a good old boy. He's a regular Washington guy. He's, if you want to support people who are just good human beings, like, he's a great dude.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've met him multiple times now, and he's been super supportive of us. We did a fundraiser. He donated a bunch of stuff. Like, big fan. Like, he doesn't sponsor us in any way, but like, he's just a good dude.
Yeah, and that's what really led me to even that recommendation. It's a small local good guy company.
He's a great guy.
Have
yeah.
you seen other people running reed calls like that?
No.
Okay. I think you may have just started a whole thing.
By the way, yeah, that was which call was that?
So
That was
that particular one was the pink amp.
the pink amps
Yep.
Phelps call.
The whites are a little bit looser, so you're able to get a little more of the deeper tones out of them. I can get kind of raspy with the white.
Raspberry, yeah.
And you can get that on just the Phelps game calls.
Yep.
Amp,
Yep,
pink,
exactly.
or white.
I think I was down at the old Sportsman's Warehouse, and I think I bought them out, 10 or 12 of them a while back.
Well, no wonder why I
It's like-
can't get them
yeah,
anywhere.
like I said, I keep them in my
He
jacket
buys them all.
pocket,
I'd
so-
love to give you guys a BCO code here, but we don't have one because this is just totally random. But like,
Not yet.
not yet. But if this guy
This episode is sponsored
can
by
kill
Phelps
thousands
Game
of coyotes,
Calls.
they'll work out for you. Yeah.
I'm thinking, like I said, Jason's a solid dude, and
I'd love to give money to Jason,
yeah, he's a great guy.
So that plays into your I'm a poor. That's $10.
Yeah.
right? And this
And it's
hand call
effective.
here is,
very
this is a
effective.
custom
Yeah,
wood
and
one, and this is over 100.
I've blown on those things for hundreds or thousands of hours before blowing one out. So
Yeah.
it's $10. You're good for a season, no problem.
that's pretty awesome,
It is
Yeah.
pretty awesome.
especially when you're killing thousands of coyotes.
Yeah.
It'll get you
I
there.
feel like we just discovered something. Like we're gonna be
I'm just saying.
all of a sudden. Josh doesn't even know, but he's
Start-
an innovator.
started
in
a new
the predator
thing.
hunting world
Yeah.
now.
I haven't even told
Now-
Phelps that I use his elk calls.
Okay, well,
Oh
For
boy,
predators,
he's gonna be calling you right after this episode,
yeah.
trademarking that shit.
that's pretty cool.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, I never would have thought of that.
Hand calls, plastic versus antique wood. Personally, I prefer, after playing around with this call, the sound of like an antique wood call if it's made right versus plastic. 'Cause plastic seems to just have a more of a
It sounds a little bit
more man-made,
artificial.
Yeah, artificial sounding.
If I have a preference, I'm going with the wood, but I like nice shit. So
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I have to agree.
and
'cause
I don't know if a coyote's really gonna know the difference.
probably not really
Probably
gonna
not, but
care. No,
Maybe
no.
old grandpa coyote that's been called in 100 times.
That's true. He's like, I'm not going out to cheap freaking call.
Stand back, young yotes.
That acrylic shit out of here.
He's probably not gonna even care.
That's the bad guy from Bambi.
That's death by burl.
Burl. I like that.
All right. When Ant Skillet, I don't know. I know this guy.
You
hunts
need my
coyotes.
glasses, or
Yeah, sorry.
James needs help.
When yotes respond to howls but don't fully commit, how would you tackle getting a shot? I think we kind of covered that a little bit.
Yeah, that would just be switching up your call sequence. If you're hand calling or mouth calling, you're going to want to switch up your volume and cadence.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them are just not going to bother. You know, I do a lot of speculating on what a coyote might think, and then I think I'm kind of ridiculous for thinking they might have that intelligence level, but I don't know that there's a whole lot of thinking that goes on there. I think
they're in
it's
the mood or
something
they're not.
they're interested
Well, I
in,
mean,
and
their
then all of a
brain's
sudden
only
they're
about
not.
this
Yeah,
big, so I mean,
or
right?
you could just get a Cantrell Outdoors custom long-range rifle and shoot them in the
This
freaking
is
eyelash.
true.
without
Come on,
arrows.
we're all porous.
Well,
here,
he said
Chris.
when a yote responds to howls but won't.
Yeah,
Right,
So he's out
and-
there and he's
right.
like, "Oh, what is he? 1,102 yards?"
So, and you'll
No, you
get
might
that.
not see
you'll
it.
get that a
You might
lot.
not see the yote.
I'll throw out locates sometimes in 10, 12 different places throughout a day or night of coyote hunting, and I might hear howls on 8 or even all 10 of those sets, but not see anything come
Yeah.
in.
I
So-
have a great fix for this actually. Loophole makes a brand new BX4 range finding binocular that you can find them with. And then I like to shoot, I don't know, like sometimes I shoot a VX6 HD, VX5 HD, sometimes I shoot a Mark V, you know. I only have like 300 of their scopes, but I can tell you that I find those little sons of bitches every single time. Every time. And then I just dial in my little CDS dial, and I shoot them right in the eyelash.
right in the eyelashes.
How much has he had to drink?
I don't know, Doug.
Not enough. Not enough.
All right.
But I will tell you that when I do find them, which is every time, I hit them.
One more question here.
Yeah, we need to wrap this
Mr.
up.
Chris, this is the last one, and then we're gonna wrap it up. What do you think the most ideal arrangement? This is Karis Forson. This is my cousin. Most ideal arrangement, if you will, would be for predator hunting. The most ideal arrangement. I'm not sure exactly what that question is, other than maybe like what would be the most ideal setup.
I think
I don't know. Is this person married?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I was going to say the most ideal arrangement would be a single lady with a shit ton of property.
Grandma Forsland.
So, yeah,
Love it.
age is not a factor.
Right, yeah. You know, hey,
Size of plot.
I feel you. I feel you.
We're not worried about age.
I am-
20,000 acres, you're 89. They're still
More
a
like
spring-
21.
So ideal arrangement. Let's say pulling up, I've got to walk a whopping 50 yards from my vehicle because it's concealed behind a rise, and then I've got to walk another 50 yards and set out my call, and I can see 1,000 yards in 280 degrees. That would be
Maybe.
absolutely ideal, and then you sprinkle some coyotes out there.
Yeah. That's the ideal arrangement right there.
That would be my ideal
maybe
arrangement.
2 bobcats come in from the right, and then some coyotes come in from the left.
Yeah, and probably about 63 to 65 degrees outside.
There you go.
And to
T-shirt
touch on
leather.
that real
That's
quick,
right.
'cause
Perfect.
I know you've, and this is not my wheelhouse, minus the internets, watching it in TV. You're there, you're set up, you shoot one coyote, you're gonna like pick up your set and go,
Negative.
and you're like, no, I'm not gonna do that.
Shot
This is a
rings
good
out.
question.
Because you've shot how many in a set?
So shots fired.
No. We don't need to talk about hits, but like murder rate. Like, what are we doing? What kind of damage are we doing? One set.
It depends.
You can brag it up, dear.
No,
Let's
what was your best set?
My best set?
Yeah.
Double.
A double.
Yeah, double my solo hunting double.
You've probably had more than doubles come in, and then you're like, and you get
I've
two
had
shots off
I've
and
had
kill two.
multiples come in. I've only been able to successfully double. I've not ever been in a situation where I've doubled and they've run out and come back. That's usually kind of how that situation works. Where
You didn't have a cantrell outdoors.
that's right. It wasn't. I didn't have my eyelash harvester.
Or you're not like the Slock master who's like a master with a bow and can just wax these suckers at 40 yards.
But
in a full sprint.
doubles, I'm super happy
Once in a
with.
lifetime.
All day, though.
Have you
Oh,
seen
yeah.
him? I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does that on a regular
You
basis.
hunt with another. You hunt with a partner or something. You can both double pretty.
Realistically,
commonly. Or
let's
not
say
commonly, but
I go make a set, I shoot a dog. How long are you waiting before you move on to the next set?
so once I've shot, I'm gonna assume that there might be another one or more in the area. So as soon as I shoot, I'm immediately switching from my prey distress call to a pup distress or Yelp series.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm running that for how long?
You probably run that for a minute, not even 30 seconds.
And then what? And then what am I doing?
Shutting it off.
And then packing up, grabbing your dog, going home.
Either somebody's coming back in, right? You hit your Yelp, you let that run for 20, 30 seconds. There's another one coming in, you switch back into your prey distress.
Okay.
Your Yelp series is over, you're going to sit there,
Okay.
shut your call off. And this is in any situation after when you're done calling a set, whether you've shot or not, you shut everything down and just sit there and watch and listen for the next 5 minutes or so before you move, pick up your stuff, move on. I've had plenty of times where that set's over and done with, and I'm pretty much mentally checked out of that set, and here we go. Here comes a dog.
It's good to know.
That's good to know.
Some good pro tips.
Cash App. Josh Caple.
That's right.
Well,
Take read calls.
Pro tips.
pro tips all the way. Well, I guess we should probably wrap this one up, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a really good podcast, and I've definitely learned a lot of stuff that I never would have thought about,
See?
which is pretty surprising.
Some good predator
And
stuff.
the read call thing, that's just a whole nother level.
There you go. Get you some practice while you're driving around.
Mr. Phelps.
Yeah,
thank
Mr.
you.
Phelps. A lot of pro tips for everybody out there, but until next time, stay humble and hunt hard, guys.